inspire, empower, grab your girls and soar a little higher. Unlock the fire in you, 'cause real women don't bitch, no. Real women don't, 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 real women don't bitch.
Hey, thank you for joining me on the Real Women Don't Bitch podcast. This is your proud host, Auguste Crenshaw, aka Mrs. Raw, Real, and Relentless. I am the #1 advanced mental conditioning specialist for entrepreneurs because building mental muscle is necessary in order to implement successful business strategies. This show has been created for the woman who is not excuse-driven and needs help building a profitable business. I will be interviewing women from various fields who are willing to break the silence on struggles that specifically affect female entrepreneurs. Welcome to a show where I and guest speakers from time to time share our methods that help us beast our business no matter what is going on in our lives. Whether you are an online or brick and mortar business owner, this show is for you. We will hit every angle, personal, professional, and spiritual. Why? Because on any given day, you get hit with shit from a scenario involving one, more, or perhaps all of the above. It all impacts you and your mindset towards your business. I have made it my personal mission to provide a space where we dive deep into the BS we face on a day-to-day basis. Hey there, guys. I am so excited about this segment and many more segments to come throughout the life of this podcast. I have conducted over 40 interviews prior to launching Real Women Don't Bitch, and I've spoken with several entrepreneurs who have given away their secrets, talked about how you properly brand yourself, mindset hacks, getting support, dealing with the change in family dynamics, all of that stuff that this show has been to talk about. I've had the privilege of interviewing several entrepreneurs. What I'm going to do is allow you to hear some of the most powerful segments that have come from some amazing summits that I have conducted. Enjoy and listen to the wisdom that is going to come from this speaker. And today we're talking about the longer game. This is how you obtain success. And I have another special guest speaker with me, and we're going to talk about establishing nonprofits. Now, at the end of the day, whether you're establishing a nonprofit or a business, the work, it's still similar. But for a lot of you, you want to specifically do nonprofits. So I want you to hear a journey from a very amazing woman that I've known and watched her do her thing for years. With that being said, would you please, guest, introduce yourself and tell them who you are and the name of your organization?
Hello, I am Rosemary Britts. I'm the founder and executive director of the Sickle Cell Association, located in St. Louis, Missouri.
Yay, my hometown. Now, how long have you been doing this? How long has the Sickle Cell Association been in existence?
For almost 6 years.
Almost 6 years, okay. And I think I ran across you, that was in 2013. So 2 years into the game, and here we are. We're still connected. I've watched your growth. I don't want to steal your thunder. I don't want to tell people your story. But why don't you tell me what made you pull the trigger? What made you decide to get started and pursue this passion?
Right. So it really had to do with having a daughter that lives with sickle cell disease, and just having the passion to feel that other people needed to know what I knew. And so I feel like if you have information, why not share it with somebody else? And so I participated in a seminar about setting goals. It's called the Joy of Goals. And that particular day was the day that I wrote down my goal to start a nonprofit organization, and the rest is history.
So in the middle of that history, there's some ups and downs, some good, some bad, and all of that stuff. But I even want to take you back to the very still, even the beginning of you writing this down, because I know just a teach about your story. how long had you had the desire to do this nonprofit before you had that day of reckoning where you wrote those goals down?
Right. So I've always wanted to start a nonprofit. I didn't know what it was going to be in. And as I looked through my life, I realized that my purpose and the plan were already set before me. I just needed to realize that. And so I was at the seminar, like I said, and the lady said, write down your goals, your dreams. Don't think about any of the ins and outs, just write it down.
Mm-hmm.
And so that day, I actually wrote down my desire to start a nonprofit for sickle cell disease. And so it had been in the making for some years, and I really didn't know that I was already walking that path.
Now, so you started, you write your goals down. I'm going out here. I'm going to do this. Did everything just fall into your lap? I mean, talk to us a little bit about your journey. How did that momentum get to going after you finally wrote it down and decided, I'm going to do this?
Yeah, so the lady in the seminar said, you seem like you had something on your mind. What was it? You didn't say it. And I said, well, I couldn't figure out how I was going to get there and what it was going to look like. And because we all want to be successful, we don't like that F word of failure.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, well, what if I fail? You know, I didn't want to be that person. And so I'm trying to think of every possible scenario, make sure I get it all wrapped up in a nice little box with a bow. And so it was hindering me, like I just had not moved forward with it. And she said something that equated to me was that I wasn't using my faith in God. And so I said, what? You know, and me, a woman of faith, like not using my faith in God. And so I realized that I did not have to limit him by asking him for that local bread, that I could pray for the supermarket and he could provide that. And so I jumped out with both feet and just said, I'm going to do this. And so when I did, things just started opening up. There were a doctor at the hospital that had been looking to work with an organization for sickle cell. And she's like, great. And things just kind of started moving faster, really. I didn't even have a name for it yet. And they're like, we want to see a walk. We want to see this and that. So I had to kind of buckle down and start reading and learning information that I needed to move forward. And so, no, it hasn't been all roses and butterflies, but it's definitely been a journey.
Okay, so this next question may require you to think just a little bit. What are some of the biggest challenges? And this may be in your spirit, in mind, or it could be physical, connections with people. I'm not going to limit the question, but what are some of the challenges that come with developing a nonprofit?
Well, my challenge was that I don't know everything. And I knew that I didn't know everything. And my pockets weren't as deep as I needed them to be to put the people in place to do that. So attorneys to look over paperwork, or people to design business plans and all of those things. So for me, those were the challenges, was starting something without having a pot of money. But I figured out ways to overcome. So I just started reaching out to anyone that I could. I used the local legal services for their attorneys. I found anything that I could find for free. And then I also realized that I could begin to ask people to donate, even though I was not yet a 501c3. And so they would donate small amounts. Obviously, a corporation or something wasn't looking to write any large checks because we weren't 501c3 yet, but people were able to donate those small amounts that allowed me to start to put things in place.
Absolutely. And then I know that when we crossed paths, one of the things that you did a long time ago was the vendor events.
Yes.
Sign, hey, well, it wasn't a vendor event, but it was an event to raise awareness. And you also had vendors that were there to help support, So you got to think outside of the box. I like that. I like the fact that money can't be the excuse, because most of us that's already, that will make or break anybody, any form of an entrepreneur. Because at the end of the day, having a nonprofit is a form of entrepreneurship. Yeah. And when money comes up, it will make or break those who can or cannot stand. And most of us, we don't necessarily really think free resources, but there are lots of free resources out there for you to take advantage of. The other thing I hear is the power of getting past the no's to get to the yes. You have to let go of your ego to get out there and say, hey, can you help me? Can you help me? Because I can imagine some people were like, no, I don't have any money, or I can't, or they just turned away, or they hung up the phone. You know, whether you called them or you saw them in person, every single individual that you saw and you asked for help, regardless of how wonderful and beautiful this thing is, I know everybody didn't say yes to you.
No, and we had had different organizations to come and go. So if you've had an organization like what you're thinking of starting that has come and it dissolved or just didn't work out, then people say, oh, well, someone's tried that already. Okay, well, that somebody wasn't me. So yeah. I would have things like that, and people would maybe try to look at me as, okay, you're a mother starting this, you're not an expert on whatever. They didn't really know what my background or education was, but they're in their mind, you're not an expert at this. This is not going to work. You're just asking for, money or whatever. You're stepping out on something that's not really feasible. And so I had to overcome the no's, figuring that eventually I was going to get a yes. Yes. And then also that someone else's story was not my story. Yeah. So maybe they tried it and they didn't have the thoughts that I had about collaborating and working with other people, and they try to do it on their own, or things like that. And so there was a lot of different obstacles to overcome, but keeping that mind open and realizing that you may not have expertise in everything, but there's somebody that has expertise in something. And so just putting that out there, like, hey, can you help? Would you be willing to lend a little time of your expertise to what I'm trying to do?
Yes, and eventually that, like you said, it becomes contagious. And I've watched you, and so now you've gone from, and you still do, local community, come in, let's counsel you, let's help you, let's raise awareness, let's get information out there, let's educate, let's collaborate with researchers, to now I've even seen you reaching out to your local and your state representatives. Definitely. Now, once again, some people just want to say, I have a brilliant idea and you should let me have the floor. So listen to me right now. What are some key things that you believe in your journey got you from just being the local mom that people think is unqualified, trying to start something, to ending up being on the floor and speaking in front of representatives to say, hey, we have got to start tackling this issue with sickle cell?
Well, first and foremost, I think is consistency and just sticking with, this is what I have a passion for. This is what I'm going to do. So whether you're going to help me or not, I'm still going to continue moving forward. So my idea is, how about you jump on board and let's move this thing further, faster, because I'm going to continue to be in your face. And so then also realizing that the legislators and these people of power, in power, for one, they work for us. So let me tell you what it is that I need you to do while you're working for me. And so just stepping out there and saying, hey, let me educate you about this thing that truly affects my family and affects our community. And so with sickle cell, I figured this is not an issue of it primarily affecting African Americans. This is an issue of somebody in our community is affected. And if someone, my neighbor, is affected by this, that's my problem too.
Absolutely.
So I need you to see it as such, and let's get on board and figure out how we can put our resources together, put our heads and thoughts together, and move this thing forward.
So what I hear from you is consistency, persistence, perseverance, and passion.
All of that.
All of that, and then some. There's no quick formula. You have to be in for the long game. And that's the thing. You are establishing a foundation.
Yeah.
Not a get rich quick scheme, not a fly by night business, not because unfortunately a lot of nonprofits do have a bad rap. I don't know if you've ever seen it without really listing the names, but I know at one point on Facebook, there was a sheet that was circulating that was saying, if you donate to this one, and this one, do you know that they literally only give a dime and this only does this and 2% goes to this and executives, get paid all of this money. So you're donating and only 2% of what you donated actually goes towards the cause. And like you said, what a lot of people don't realize is that people like you, who started from the bottom and who really are pushing for the cause, for the agenda to raise the awareness, this is not a big money making scheme. There's a lot of work that goes into it. I want you to talk about, because you mentioned this before on our other interview, the different levels of things that you do, the counseling and all of these services that you provide that take so much time and energy that they're virtually priceless.
Right. So when I started the organization and I told my husband, I'm not going back to that corporate job. I'm starting this organization. He said, say what? And I was working, making pretty decent money. And I said, no, I'm going to start this nonprofit. And he said, okay, well, how are you going to contribute to home? And I said, well, give me about 6 months and, I'll be able to generate some things. Well, 6 months turned into about 3 years for me. But I tell you what, I didn't lose my home and I didn't miss a meal. It was a struggle, but I was determined. I mean, if I had to ask everybody that walked past me can you donate me $1? I was up for the challenge because I knew that this was very important, that someone is out there struggling. So we provide at the Sickle Cell Association monthly support group meetings to help to support the individuals that are living with the disease.
Yes.
They're alone and no one understands. And this is an opportunity for them to get together and talk about what it is that they're going through, or for us to bring in experts to talk to them about different aspects of this. We also provide counseling for families that have been identified to have sickle cell trait, to know what is important for them moving their family forward or growing their family. We also do things like go out and do presentations at churches and schools and things like that to just kind of get the word out. And then we do awareness events and health fairs and things like that. So it definitely takes a lot of my time. Besides that, besides doing all of that, the rest of my time is spent networking and meeting all these people that can pour something to the organization. So that's another thing. He says, are you going to another networking event? Yes, I am. Well, why do you do that? Because I need to meet people. I need to be outside of the four walls and meet people that could potentially, someone out there is ready to write that big check or to spend some volunteer hours with the organization.
Yes.
And they don't even know it because they didn't know about this organization.
Absolutely.
So once I have an opportunity to meet with them at these networking events, or networking opportunities, I was just about to donate to something, and hey, here it is. I'm going to donate to the Sickle Cell Association, or my job allows me to take off 8 hours or something to volunteer. So I would like to do that with the Sickle Cell Association. So I was looking for something else to do. Oh, we're going to do a blood drive, to support individuals that need blood donations. So.
And once again, that's a very clear component. What I notice with a lot of people, sometimes you can get so caught up on your dream and your vision, and you can know that your purpose is so huge. But if nobody sees you, it's not going to come to you. It's one of those things that you have to decide that you want to take it. You have to have the wherewithal within to go and get it. And you have to continue to build the relationships. And something else that I've learned in connection with what you're saying is that it may not even always be the person. somebody might be like, you know what, that sounds really good. And it's not that I don't want to support your cause, but I'm already really in deep with this, but I know someone else. And, so those relationships, there's no limit, on where they can go to. I've talked to people before and just been having casual conversation. And because of the casual conversation at a networking event, somebody said, you know what, I know a friend that needs your help. And so you have to get out there. You have to let people know who you are, because if you don't, you're going to be sitting in four walls with a dream and with a hope, and it's not going to actually come to fruition. Now, something else I want to touch really quickly. There's a lot of responsibility beyond just meeting the people and networking. With you being a nonprofit, you got to be on your books and your paperwork and make sure all of that stuff is in order, because the last thing you need is an unnecessary audit. And if you have one, you need to be able to pull all of that stuff out. Can you talk a little bit about the realities of what it means to really be organized and be focused? Because that can make or break some organizations too.
Yes. And so with everything, especially at the point that you receive grants and all of that, there's paperwork and receipts and all of these things that you have to do. And when I talked about the challenges, that was again one of those things where I kind of needed an accountant, but what I did was just kind of looked into what is my responsibility being over the organization. And then I just started to file things. I made files the way that I could. I got a program on my computer where I can do a lot of the things myself, and then utilize the dollars that I could come up with for the accountant to kind of help in the overseeing of some of those things. And also, I would say that putting together a good board is a very necessary thing, because if you can put together a board where you have some of those people on the board, they're able to utilize their companies or utilize their services in order to help with some of those things that you would otherwise have to put a lot of dollars out for.
There it is. So people, you guys have been listening. She's been very transparent and very open about the realities of starting a nonprofit. Once again, it's the same thing. If you're starting a business, you need to make sure you have your books in order. You need to make sure you have a business account versus a personal account. You need to make sure you're documenting things. And having a CPA is just something that's going to save you a whole lot of trouble in the long run. But while you're bridging that gap, you said something that's really important. You still need to be a good self-starter. It doesn't take much to say, okay, well, I'm going to make sure I file and scan every receipt, and I'm going to put this stuff in order. Because sometimes we can get so caught up on our passion, or we can get so caught up on making money that we're not being responsible with how we keep a record of things. But the biggest thing, too, that I keep hearing in everything that you're saying is you're excellent at collaboration. You are excellent with working with people. So whether it's collaborating with the researchers, collaborating with people to help you in the communities, collaborating by, establishing a board so that you have people that you can work with, which led to collaborating with their companies. Collaboration is critical. And the short version of that is none of us make it alone. None of us. Well, this was a quick segment, but it was power packed with so much information. I don't want to just leave just like that. Do you have any final words of wisdom? Did anything pop in your head? Just something that's brewing that you want to share, just to instill even more motivation and encouragement to someone who may be frustrated along their journey, or that's kind of being held back and hasn't stepped up to the plate yet?
So one of the things that was told to me is that if I had the dream, so when I was talking about writing my goal down, if I had the dream, it didn't just pop up there, that was planted. And so
yes,
for me personally, if God planted the dream, he will provide the provision.
Yes.
So therefore, if you have the dream, the thought to do something, jump out there. Nothing beats a fail but a try.
It was a pleasure to share this segment with you. I know there were plenty of nuggets that you walked away with to strengthen you as a business owner. If you would like to get access to the additional 35 videos with the full interview along with a great workbook to help you refine and fine tune and tweak your business, head on over to the website and find out how you can get the rest of the audios for the Real Talk for Business Mastery Summit interviews. Until the next segment, you guys have a great day. Thank you for joining me today. Remember to cultivate a mindset that is biased towards taking action. No bitching, whining, or complaining. Here, our mantra is, real women don't bitch, we get shit done. See you next week as I continue to bring you what you need to keep your head in the game and beast your business. Don't forget to hit subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. Would you like a specific topic covered? Have a question you would like answered live? Then head on over to realwomendon'tbitchpodcast.com. Subscribe to my email list, hit me up, and I got you. Interested in being a guest speaker? You walk the walk? Then you can sign up on the website too. This is your #1 advanced mental conditioning specialist for entrepreneurs, Mrs. Raw, Real, and Relentless. Signing out. Deuces.
Inspire, empower, grab your girls and soar a little higher. Unlock the fire in you.